I am overjoyed to have my friend Oliver T. Reid with us today. Oliver and I are working on a project together, so it's even more special to have him on the podcast today because that's not far from launching. So that's awesome. So without further ado, Oliver, please just go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody kind of who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name is Oliver, Dr. Oliver T. Reid. I'm the writing coach. I help entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches write their books fast using my four-step note writing system. So it's a system I can generate it to help get the book out of your head onto the pages really, really quick.
Nice. So the way I like to start these interviews with Dr. Reid is to ask you some personal questions, kind of so the audience kind of gets to know you. It's not just all about your expertise, it's about who you are as a person, right? So being someone that helps people write books, what's your favorite book of all time?
Wow, that's that is a hard question, but I would say, I mean, this may sound cliche, but I would go with the Bible. It's the number one best-selling book of all times. It's got one of the best written anthologies to it. You got these multiple writers, and it's withstood the test of time. And anything in life that I've found so far can be found inside.
Yep, all the life lessons you need are right there, right?
Right there. Yes.
Nice. So the next question is, place you would most like to spend a month on vacation, not just a week, but like a month.
Yeah, I would say my most favorite place that I really want to get to, it would probably be Dubai. Just fascinated with how they brought water into the desert and just the luxury there. I would love that.
Yeah, I'd like to get up on top of that building where they hit the golf balls off of.
Right.
Yeah, I'll take my picture there and keep that as my profile picture for like years.
Right. I want to put the whole headdress on. I want to be driving the fast cars from the desert to hear all of that.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so fill in the blank. If I had not met blank, I would not be where I am today.
Yes. If I had not met my true self, I would not be where I am today. And I think that meeting who I really am, understanding who I'm created to be, and embracing that has brought me where I am today.
Well, I think there's an entrepreneurial lesson right in that. we could dive in.
Yes.
Sometimes with these personal questions, I don't expect them to be like teaching moments, but this seems like it could be a teaching moment. So let's kind of go there just for a second. So for many entrepreneurs, we get into this and we don't really know who our true self is, right? What we're called to do and who we're called to serve, and everything that goes around it. So just kind of explain to the audience what you mean by finding your true self.
Yeah, finding my true self was really unapologetically, on purpose, understanding all three parts of me: good, bad, ugly. Other three parts: mind, soul, and body. Embracing good, bad, and ugly. I think that we oftentimes try to assimilate to become these entrepreneurs that everybody wants, right? The next best thing, that's hot button item. But understanding, man, on my worst day, I'm still true to me, and embracing that I missed it or I made it, and put everything in the same pot. The congratulations and the condemnation and the criticism all in the same pot. And when you learn to do that and really understand that that's still a part of me, the good, the bad, the infant stage, me being on top of my game, me being at the lowest point, is a part of that entrepreneurial journey. And you understand that
That's right.
That your true self makes all the difference.
I think what a lot of entrepreneurs fail to understand is that actually attracts more people than it repels. Being authentic and even showing your weaknesses, your failures, you attract more people to you than if you try and be overly polished. You come across fake, you come across unauthentic. If you try and be something you're not, right? So there's so much wisdom in that. So thank you for. I'm glad I asked that question, and thank you for such a great answer.
Man, you're a great interview. I'm loving this already.
Nice. Now, I'm going to turn it over to you because I want people to understand your story. So when we talk about your authentic self, right, your true self, where'd you come from? How did you get to where you are now? I know it could be a very long story. So however much of it you want to tell. I allotted an hour for this interview, so however much of that you want to fill. We do have some other questions to get into, but however much you want to fill it.
Yeah, I was born and raised by a single mother, rejected by my father, abandoned at a young age, grew up in the inner city project of Charlotte, North Carolina, to a mom who was on welfare. And all I saw was devastation all around me growing up. My stepdad was there in the picture, who turned out to be not a surrogate father, become more of an abuser to me.
Mm.
So for 12 years of my life, physically abused, emotionally abused. My mother ended up leaving that it got so bad. We returned, physical abuse stopped, but the mental, and when I say understanding how to truly be me as an entrepreneur, as a man, it's not light, because when you grew up hearing words like some of you on the other side, like you're sloppy, you're lazy, you're going to be a drunk like your father, you're never going to be anything, and really press through or have the wherewithal or the inner tenacity to overcome those things, you know that you're a winner from the very beginning. So going through that particular time at age 19, was a very angry kid, given given so many reasons to do so. And at age 19, Doug, I actually ended up saying, "Hey, my life isn't worth living." And so my freshman year of college, I tried to take my life on Christmas Day. So I am a suicide survivor. Couldn't die because there was a greater purpose. I believe everything happens for a reason, and really used that later on in life to become my fuel, to say, hey, let me switch this. Like, somebody may be watching this right now and feeling like everything is stacked against them. And I've learned, if you can just tilt it on this axis. I always have a poem called X-Man, where I talk about my relationship with my father, but I also say that X marks the spot of the plan, right? We have this target on our back sometimes as entrepreneurs. I've been having a discussion with a friend of mine who's another serial entrepreneur, and we've been talking about most entrepreneurs a lot of times will birth their business out of trauma. They will lay off or divorce, or something happened where you begin to be the answer to the problem. And so I realized, surviving all this in a nutshell, that hey, I had this voice, I had this message. Writing was a part of my life. It was something I turned to. It was always stable. It was always constant. That I could turn to my journal. I could turn to my pad. And a funny side note was that I wanted to be an aspiring rapper, so I would be rapping and doing all these things, but it was still a form of writing.
Mhm.
And so out of that, I came from that tumultuous background, defied the odds. Now have multiple degrees, a lot of education, but I never forgot the scar. So I'm telling, anybody who's watching this or watching on replay, that a lot of times I used to try to get rid of my scars. I thought covering them up or masking them in life was the thing to do. But the more I learned, the more I unlearned. And I realized that the scars are roadmaps, that they leave certain places where I can identify with my ideal client. So I help business owners and people write books, because I become a book and become a story, rather than it just being, oh, this is just something that I write. And so out of that, I went on to stumble in writing, and went through a lot of trauma with my first book. It was a disaster, man. It was kind of like, people told me that just do these steps and you'll be okay. And I found out that there's so much of just writing and slapping the book together and just doing everything. So my first book was on Amazon. It was up there. I had no rights to it. It was unedited. The cover was awful. And I remember saying to myself, like, Lord, if you help me get through this particular thing with my book, I'm going to help somebody else. And that's how I stumbled to be the person I am today, going on writing over 40 books and helping people on 4 continents do so. But my story is that I never forgot the pain of my story. And I always say this, you'll probably hear me say this several times in the interview, that your pain doesn't owe you a pity party of what you've been through. But I've been saying this all over social media, sue your past, right, for a settlement of your future. So what I've been doing is everything I've learned in the past, I sued it through my writing. I've used it to become better in my present. So that's why I'm, in a nutshell, a survivor. I always say that I'm not a hero. I'm a survivor. And I try to go in and help people navigate their lives and use the power of their voice and their story to become better people and to be better business leaders.
Wow, such an amazing story. We recently had Michael Anthony. I'm not sure if you know who he is on the show, and he's an expert in all that trauma stuff, right? About having entrepreneurs come through and thrive. And you're a shining example of someone that experienced trauma but turned it around and now are thriving and helping other people thrive, which is my favorite thing about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We not only help ourselves, we're helping other people reach their goals. So
Yes.
it's truly amazing. Thank you so much for all that you did.
No problem. I'm glad to be here, man.
So now I want to get into your actual expertise and how you help people. So let's talk about what are the reasons entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches need to write? Why don't they write a book?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I hear from entrepreneurs all the time, Doug, is, well, I'm making all this money, I'm successful, I don't have time to do that, right? I think the number one thing is time. Like, if I had time, maybe one day in the wild blue yonder, I'll write that. Right now, I'm busy with crypto, I'm busy investing, I'm busy expanding my business, I'm busy scaling. And I always refer to them to tell them, can you look and see the people around you? For example, dropping names. You see John Maxwell written over 80 books, right? You see, Oprah Winfrey write a book. Even every president of the United States has written a book, even on the top of your game. Why? Because they found the time. So my biggest thing is that you don't have time. It's the other way around, not to write your book about what you already do. But the number one thing is time. The other thing is fear, because I don't really want people to really know who I am. Maybe it'll take away from my business if they get to know who I am. Or, thirdly, the fear could be, if I give them my secret sauce about what I do, then I'm going to, help my competition, right? And so all of these things are kind of myths that people have. And it's just really like, I would say the fourth thing is that it'll take away from what I'm already doing. So people like, I just want to stay focused in this, and the book will take away from
So they don't really understand that amplifies everything that they're doing. They think it detracts, but it really amplifies. Sometimes 10x, 20x.
Right. Right. So, on steroids.
Yeah. So they just need to flip the script in their head. That the book, they need to put the book above in the priorities of some of the things that they're thinking of.
Exactly. It's really the other way around. And when you write that book, you become. I hear people all the time in my field, they use these words like the book is the next business card. Mm-hmm. But I like to take it a step further, and I say the book is the next deposit. And it gets you before your ideal client, even when you're not there. What I love about a book is you don't even have to be there to introduce yourself.
That's right. That's right. And the thing, I really don't like the business card analogy, because when I go back to networking, you're collecting everybody's business card. Some of them you keep, some of them you but a book, you're bringing value. A business card, you're not bringing value. Book, you're dropping value on somebody. So
yes.
It's so much more than a business card.
It's so much more.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the benefits of writing a book for an entrepreneur, speaker, or coach.
Yeah, one of the benefits that I love to really share is that, again, your book, when it is actually done, makes you the expert. Now, one of the myths is I'll write a book and become an expert one day. I work with a lot of coaches and 7-figure earners, and they were like, well, I had to wait till I became a millionaire before I wrote this book. Really, it's the other way around. You write the book, right, because you become the expert, not waiting to be. So you kind of just differentiate yourself as a business owner when you say, hey, I have a book. Because if I'm Googling somebody to come speak at my 10X conference or whatever, I'm going to probably go with the person that has the book, right? Opposed to somebody who just saying they are. And I like to use the urban term to say fitna, somebody that's fitna or stuck in fitna.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
Like getting ready to, I'm going to do that. One of the things the book does is that it basically, if entrepreneurs understood this point, you already have a system. You've already put together your systems and process. Why not write the book on what you already do and then leverage the playing field from there? So a lot of people feel like they have to create content, but every day as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you're creating content. Third thing it does is it takes you having to feel like you got to lead generate all the time by yourself. I used to feel like in my business, like I got to show up every day. I got to make so many calls. I got to do 10 out of 6 or whatever it may be, whatever number that is, so that I can hit my quota. What happens with the book is that you take what you do, put it on steroids, and you put it out into the world. And guess what? Now people get to see your expertise that never knew you. I remember going to Colombia for my first time, South America, all because I did a video and I had a book.
Nice.
It was like they didn't know me, but they just started to read my story, see what I was talking about, and invited me to be among like 24 international speakers and business leaders, right? And so you never know whether your book will land. I always say it like this: say, Doug, I'll give you my book. You may not read it. 90% of people who buy your book will never read it, right? But what they will do is they will never forget you. And you could set it on the table. They'll be like, hey, I get this all the time. I don't know who that guy is, that writing coach, but he has some kind of book, right? But they don't know me, but they've read my book. And say you take my book, Doug, you never read it, you leave it on the coffee table. And then somebody else, one of your friends come by who's really interested in writing their book. I'm a ghostwriter. I have a book about ghostwriting. They pick up the book. The second contact is usually my client. I want to leave that nugget. Let me say that again. The power of the second connection is so important. Think about it. People that introduce you to your business partner or your spouse or whoever it is, you really start tracing those relationships, they're no longer in the picture, right? The person that gave you the book, you can't remember, but the book helped you. So power of the second connection is good.
Yeah. Another thing I want to bring up about that expertise part is, yes, it helps you your authority and your expertise, but it helps you charge more as well. When you have the authority of writing a book, you get elevated into what you can charge as well. So that's a key point too.
Yes, I love what you said about that, because one of the things that I do, and I'll give my secret sauce, I don't write books to sell. When I first started writing books, I was all about, like, let me hit the bestsellers list. And you get this all the time. I work with a lot of people on projects. That's the number one thing. Hey, we're going to hit the bestseller list. I'm like, yeah, but that's not what you really want. You want people to, like you said before, read the book and point them back to working with you. At the most, you may get $25 to $30, $40. Some books may be even $100. You have to sell a heck of a lot of books to become a millionaire from the book. But if you can get them back, like you were saying, to work with you, or turn the book into a course, take that book and turn it into an ebook, take the ebook, there's so many different ways you can do it. Now you're producing revenue, and you're also producing awareness with just doing the product. Think about the book one time.
Yeah. And to go back to your point about the entrepreneurs that say that they don't have, what's what I'm trying to get to, that they don't feel like their expertise is ready for a book, like they're not a millionaire yet, so their expertise is, they can write more than one book, right? They can write a book for the level that they're at. They can write a book for the next level they hit and the next level after that. So it's not a one and done kind of thing. If they want to write multiple books, they could do that. Once they have to see the power of the first book, they're going to want to write multiple books.
Definitely.
So why has John Maxwell written as many as he has, right?
Right. Still writing.
Yep. So that is awesome. My next question is multi-author books. Can we talk about that? Because I know that's something you and I are working on. You're helping me and a mutual friend of ours put together a multi-author book. Can you talk about the benefits of having a multi-author book?
Yes, it's better together. What's powerful about a multi-author book, it defeats all of those oppositions that you mentioned earlier, that I mentioned earlier. A lot of entrepreneurs were like, hey, I got to write this whole entire book. It's too big for me. Right. So what you can do is, with an anthology or a collaborative book, you chop it down into small pieces. There's an African proverb that says, there's one way to eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So you get your feet wet with just taking that bite at a time, taking a chapter of 15 to 2,000 words, 2,500 words, and you write about that chapter, about your expertise, and you put it in the book. So the first thing I would say, the benefit is it makes it smaller for you. It's not as consuming, thinking about writing it. Second thing, what it does is it allows you to cross-pollinate with people who are different from you but have a similar goal. Let me say that again: different from you, different story. We may sit down, Doug, you and I story probably may be different or similar, right? But at the end of the day, we have a commonality that we're entrepreneurs. So if we wrote a book on entrepreneurship, then we would take your story, my story, and we work together and give people a flavor, a difference, right? And what's happening, I like about the third thing that happens when you do collaborative books is that you cross pollinate. So then now my clients are seeing to your clients, vice versa, and then we can push it. So I come to your city, for example, we do a book signing, you pull your people together, you come to my city. So now people are looking at, hey, I know Doug, but hey, but I resonate with Oliver's story. And so you have a bigger force, you have a variety, and you have a bigger push and its support. Thirdly, support. I mean, you're not doing it by yourself. You know, you got people that can kind of hold you accountable and help you push. So it's really that team effort that really takes the book to the next level and produces revenue from multiple streams, where you might only have one particular reach to do a 20-city tour, but working with you, you may have the reach to reach 100 cities. And I'm a part of that, just writing it one time in one chapter.
That's a really good, that answer and that question is really a good segue into my next question. You and I know this about you as well, are huge believers in relationships, in cultivating and growing relationships. So the multi-author book plays well into that, but can you just talk about how growing and or connecting and growing relationships has affected your entrepreneur journey?
Yes, it's really taken what I do, my relationships. Like right now, I'm working with a really great client, high profile client, and I would have never gotten that client except I invested in somebody else's mastermind. So somebody reading this, it wasn't on purpose. I didn't invest in the mastermind to get this potential client. I just showed up and said, hey, I want to go and support, not only with my words, but with my dollars, and invest in this particular, which was healthy price just to be in the room. And I first thought like, hey, Doug, like, I'm like, you know what, man, too rich for my blood. I don't know if I want to go with this. But I'm so happy I did. I got in the room, showed up authentic, showed up in the way that I present, wasn't trying to be anybody else. And the person that I'm working with, Doug, to your point, was not even at the mastermind. It goes back to the power of the second connection, which I'm writing a book on that. Shameless plug. I'm writing a book on the power of the second connection. So I'm sitting here doing, just talking. He overhears that I write books and he's in marketing and he has this high profile client. He's like, we're thinking about writing a book for this guy and he doesn't know how to do it. And he's like, I'll call you. Well, you know how those conversations go. You like, yeah, right. Well, if he does, great.
I'm gonna sit by the phone.
I'm not gonna sit by the phone. So month two go by, and I'm like, I hear nothing. To your point, but then out of relationship, we still kept talking to each other. Next thing you know, I landed this high-profile client. And what I mean by that, you go back to your point. When you write the book, the value goes up. Mm-hmm. So when he saw that I've done it myself, and I always tell people never hire a coach that hasn't done it themselves and been a master at it. Not just doing it one time, but that can actually do it. But cultivating that relationship, sowing and investing in somebody else's dream, help bring a client that is going to only bring other clients of that caliber. So look at it as an investment. When I say investment internally, making up in your mind that you're doing it for you. You're doing it to better your surrounding and better your leverage. Not, oh, let me get 1,000 back because I spent 1,000. It's my investment because I know who I am. I know where I want to go. But that relationship is now cultivated to now 1 to 2 more clients that I can actually work with.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, that's one of my main things is I always say when you're in business, especially in the type of businesses that we are in, where it's very important to be social. Relationships are a cornerstone. They're a cornerstone of the foundation of any business. And the more you can grow that, the more your business can grow. So yeah, that's awesome. All right. So tell people where they can find out more about you, where they can get help writing their book that's going to help them get to the next level. So yeah, just fill us in on that.
Yeah, it's really simple. Anywhere you can find me at Dr. Oliver T. Reid, and then you can also go to www.milk writing system. And I always say milk. Milk is that 4-step process that I talk about in the acronym. But milk, you remember how people used to say back in the day, hey, the person's really milking it. So we really want to milk your story. We really want you to milk your story. It's been a negative connotation, but we've turned that to be, hey, really milk your story. You go to milkwritingsystem.com, you can land on my pages and then Google Dr. Oliver TV, and you can find out how to tap in.
Nice. I also think milk does a body good would also work.
Hey, new shirt. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes.
Because it'll help you out. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Reid. And do you have any parting words for our entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for entrepreneurs, and I'll say this again, if you haven't written a book on what you already do, you're not just missing out on money, but you're missing out on opportunities that lead to relationships that's greater than money, right? And then also I will say, if you haven't written the book, that could be the part of your life that's not fulfilled. Because I hear a lot of entrepreneurs, they're making the money. That's not the problem. You know, when you reach the status of, where money's not the problem, most people are now focusing on, Doug, as you know, legacy. Have you left the legacy you want to leave? And I think everybody should have a book, but especially entrepreneurs. You let businesses, you work with multiple personalities, you scaled, you leveraged. You went through a lot in your life on the back end that people don't know. And I think that if you write the book on just that, it will produce income, but also outcome. And it will. And when I say income, I'm talking about internally. It will give you a lot of times the satisfaction that you've been looking for in the next level of your life or the next leg of your journey. So write the book, and then also say become the book you want to write. So write the book. When you write the book, then become it, and then you can still have longevity in your life and impact others.
Yeah, I love that word, impact. And I think, there's something in almost everybody's story that can impact someone else. So highly suggest this multi-author book that you and I are working on is going to be my first one, but there's many more coming down the road. So
Yes.
I highly recommend that everybody as an entrepreneur, writes a book, because like I said, your story is going to resonate with somebody and help them.
Awesome, man. I'm so excited to be working with you, man. Thank you for having me on.
All right. It has been a pleasure. And until next time, entrepreneurs, keep moving forward.